Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. Something that I like to do every so often, I'm going to flatten this out just a little bit, is go to local Dollarama and buy this kind of stuff. Now, these are repackaged Pokemon cards. I guess that's kind of an interesting thing to do. The claim is that this contains 3 premium cards, holos and rares. It's a random mix, which I don't know what random really means when you repackage things. I'm sure somebody goes, and whatever, and just throws it in the package. Pair of scissors. Let's open these up. I don't think there's like little tear points or anything like that. Let's try not to cut the cards. Let's say, well, maybe around there. Oh no, I gotta go. Oh, further. I don't like that. Okay, well, further we go. Does that do it? That does it. So, I set that grouping there. Let's go to the next. See if we can make sure they're kind of shaken down towards the bottom as much as possible. And go across here. So, open that up. All right, so what I do is I'll get a quick look at these and just kind of pick one that I think would be fun to draw and then draw it. Hopefully something I've never seen before. Tangrowth or Tangrowth. That's interesting. Dusk Noir. Okay. And Trevenant. Maybe that's a play on revenant, which is sort of another way of saying, like, you know, a zombie. We got here now. Haluka or Halucha. Maybe it's like Hawk and a luchador. What else we got here? Hypno. And Jump Pluff, which is a fluffy barrage. Now let's get a look at these. This one seems interesting that it has like a little Pikachu kind of thing going on with it. I don't know what I think of that. The name I find interesting. Well, only 6 cards to choose from. For some reason, I'm kind of leaning towards that, which has a Seed Bomb, Shadow Cage, Trevenant. Evolves from, looks like PHANTUMP. Oh, that's nice. Which would be that thing right here. I don't know if that's a double mouth. What's going on here? Or those stripes. Kind of like, you know, the shirt of Charlie Brown or something. Again, I don't really know what these characters are. This is something I just do for fun to see if I can familiarize myself with some of this stuff. Okay, well, that's what I'm choosing. I'll set that there for a moment. Tip that. Let's move the scissors out of the way, and this plastic I'll just set in the garbage can beside me. All right, let's open up the inkwell. grab a pen and see if we can come up with something that, like, it looks like it has roots down here. I may have to investigate after. I don't know how or what's going on, if that is two mouths or mouth and then another set of just fun designs. So I think with this, rather than go right to the pen, I'm going to pick two markers. So I have this, and maybe I'll get three markers. This one, and maybe it's like a darker, slightly darker brown. Maybe this one. Okay. Let's go with the smaller end. Zoom in on this first. Okay. Let's keep it about there, let's say. So I don't know what the top of this tree-like thing is supposed to look like. I may have chosen the wrong thing to do. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let's get a third marker, which it will be the eyes. Kind of keep a spot for the glow to happen. Would probably be the only red. Next, let's go with the light kind of brown. We'll add some sort of detail in here. So, as I said, I will end up doing a bit of research after, find out what this thing is kind of like, especially in battle. I know people that are quite into the Pokemon world, and hopefully they know what this character is and all about. So I'm going to kind of rough in some part of its teeth there. Now I do plan on getting the other row of teeth, if that's what that's supposed to be. That seems really strange to me, though. Now I wonder how many of the Pokemon end up being like keepers, you know, like they seem to develop a lot of different characters. Move that up just a little bit. Now, I'm uneasy about choosing that next row of teeth-like thing. I'm going to try to make it seem a little less like a Scarecrow from the DC universe. I'm trying to meet, like, as if this bottom row of teeth would go, like, fit into the in-between portions of the upper teeth, if that makes sense. It seems to use like a root system for walking, maybe. So a quick message. Hey, Paul, I know you're not into this kind of Pokemon stuff or whatever. You ever watched any of those battles? Is that something you've ever done? I don't really understand Pokemon so much, which is why I'm doing this. And then after, I will give the cards away because I don't know what I'm supposed to do with them. So this thing has some capabilities. So it says on the card, it says it has Seed Bomb, which I guess has to be some very special something or other. I'll leave room here for its kind of hand-like things. And maybe, ooh, this could be kind of like a very angry Groot. Now I left a little bit of space here, and there's kind of space there. So I want there to be a spot where leaves can show up. I'm going to kind of bring this out just a little bit. Okay. Next. Here we shall have some leaves. Now what I'm planning on doing is getting some water to this. Let's have a leaf blowing off into the wind over here. I don't want to spend too much time making leaves. So I'm just going to make a smattering of them. I don't know if you use a different technique for making leaves like this. I don't know how much it matters. I mean, matters enough for detail's sake, I suppose, if you want to put in lots of time into making individual leaves. That's pretty fun to do. I spent almost 5 minutes just looking at these cards. Let's have a single leaf off the elbow there, and then we'll do another grouping of leaves like cuffs on a shirt. I don't think we need any on the lower half. Let's put a couple more here. Okay. Now I do have one other brown, but I think I'm going to swap it for a darker brown. Maybe this one. And that's going to be kind of like my shading little buddy not really so much for shade because I'll be using the pen and ink for a lot of this. This is just to give some contrast to the lighter brown, which again I know will happen with the ink, if that makes sense. I think most Pokemon seem to have only 3 fingers, so not all of them, but I mean, it seems like the few that I've drawn. So I shouldn't say a lot, just the ones that I seem to have leaned towards. I don't know them that well. Okay. Here is the fun part. Again, look at this thing. Now, that could be one eye, or it could be just a peek from the side. I didn't really notice these break apart details here initially. It's interesting. An elder tree Pokemon, almost 5 feet tall. Looks like it has multiple legs, so I could probably do that. Okay. So let's quickly throw another leg back here. And I don't know if it needs a 4th leg, but we're going to do that anyway. We'll get a little bit of this detailing stuff. Now in the Pokemon world, of course, there are people who have made it a business of sorts to get hold of the cards, find the rare ones, and sell them so that people can not have to get these random packs. Now, I'm not a reseller. As I said, I give this stuff away. But I'm not really looking for whatever the supposed rares are anyway, so. Okay. I have a cup, some water in it. I have my trusty #1 detailing brush. Ooh, fancy schmancy, which, you know, doesn't matter in the great scheme of things if that will even focus on that. Maybe it will, just enough. Anyway. What I'm going to do is sort of blur blend a couple of things, and I'm just going to drag some water over this. Now that brown that I use seemed to have a little bit of red kind of worked into it. And red is a very powerful color in these markers. I'm staying away from the eyes a little bit before purposefully staying away from those eyes, just because, as I said, red is powerful. This is a way of kind of filling in some of those lighter areas, and I want this to stay kind of light. Take care of the leaves before I do the eyes. So, how do you feel about the World Cup? Are you excited for its conclusion? Did you expect it to go the way that it went? Argentina is very much a powerhouse team, as is Spain. The lead up to these matches were, or this match I should say, been pretty exciting. I think a player that's become a lot more beloved, although kind of already beloved, I guess, is Haaland. It's kind of fun to watch people's reception of that player. Now let's see here. Okay. Really cleaning off that brush as much as I can. Do a little bit around these leaves. Just makes them kind of look like a glob. Which I'm okay with. Now I have done a little bit of watercolor type stuff. Sometimes with watercolor, I know I've done it this way, but anyway, you might start off with pencil first. And I don't really like the look of pencil underneath watercolor for some reason. So sometimes I would just kind of mix a few colors and kind of sketch draw with a paintbrush. Just because I don't really like to see the pencil underneath. As I said, some people do it that way, and that's perfectly fine. Do things as you see fit to do. So that's what I have going on here with that. The final thing is I'm just going to see what I can do with these eyes. And leave a little bit of the glowiness in there, but get rid of the streakiness of the marker. Okay. Now let's set the cup on the floor so I don't kick it over on the desk. I would have done the leaves Second last, I have my pen here. I'm just going to work on some of the lower body detail stuff. Dry enough, I think. And put back some of the detail that I took away with the brush. So you can let me know in the comments if you have fun ideas for your weekend, for the upcoming weeks. You know, what neat things this summer you're doing. Are you going to concerts? Are you going to visit anyone? Which is super exciting to do. So yes, the last picture that I drew, which you can see in the, well, the playlist, is of an owl. I kind of made him just for fun, but full of all these claws, which is kind of what I'm doing here now. This is kind of a strange thing. I want there to be almost like a bark-like structure down here at the roots. So, as I said, I have no idea what this character really does, how it moves. I don't know if I have enough or too many of these lower appendages. I have only ever seen this Pokemon card as a reference of sorts, so this is completely new to me. Having only just opened up the pack. Okay, so that took a little bit. Where are we at with the dryness? Let's go with a little bit around the eyes here. It seems like some Pokemon are just like born to battle. Like as soon as they hatch from an egg or, you know, created in some lab or however they come into being, they have kind of like a limited intelligence, but they're just ready to fight. I'm sure that's like a thing. Which is kind of strange and fun, I guess. And they talk a little like Groot, where they just say their own names. At least that's my impression of them, where they just say their own names. That's how they talk. Always introducing themselves. Maybe Peter Quill would be able to understand them. He has some sort of like super duper universal translator or something built in as an augmentation. Star-Lord. here, I'm just working in little strange details. In almost bark-like ways. For fun, we can kind of zoom in on that just a little bit. I want the teeth to seem kind of wispy at the ends. It's an interesting word, wispy. You know, like it, almost like they would fray. So like, almost like torn edges. It just makes an interesting detail look. I'm going to keep some parts of this kind of blank. Without adding strips of bark to it. Because I'm not going to go back over this with brush and water. Now, some parts of the arm seems like it separates or floats. So I'm going to put in an element of that. I don't really have lots of detail on its movements, so I'll do kind of the same thing over here, just a little bit. So I'm assuming a lot. In one of the other videos that I did this sort of a thing, I mistook a dog-like creature for a cat-like creature, or a fox. Again, I don't really know what some of these things are, so I'm not making excuses, but I have done no research. Okay. Those are kind of like curled claw-like things going on. Now, let's add a little bit of leaf detail, I think. And then I'm trying to figure out if I want to have something going on as if it's split from the front to the back and then the parts are floating. I'm not sure yet what I want with those. I'm going to give these leaves just a little bit of definition. Almost like feathers. And when you're drawing a Pokemon, do you lean more towards certain ones? Do you have a favorite? Do you ever draw a Pokemon that you don't know what they are? Kind of like what I'm doing here. This is a strange thing. Now, of the things that I do collect, some of my favorites are information. Now, what makes great collections, I suppose, is just a knowledge base. Knowing about certain things. There's a lot of stuff I don't know, but it's fun to find out. At least for me, I think it is. Kind of like if you are a collector of things, some of the funnest parts of collecting is the hunt itself. That can be a fun thing. Some of these leaves look kind of strange. Got one leaf flying away. We'll give it a bit of a stem here. Now these just kind of popped into my head, but it seems like leaves are feathers of the tree. Could be wrong in thinking that way, and that's perfectly fine. It's just, I think I draw feathers in a comparable way. How embarrassing. Okay. Now, final bits. Do I want this to remain floating? Because the backgrounds on this are dark. I can't really tell if this goes all the way through, if the head is kind of floating. I have no idea. What I can do is possibly just leave it, and then if I decide to revisit this and do a secondary drawing or something like that, maybe I can correct what that's supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is just outline the mouth a little bit more, and I think I'm going to leave it as a floating head and then floating torso. And it does seem like maybe the arms might do something the same, but I will just let that be. For they are held together by some sort of magic or technology, and that is fine. Like special force or something like that. Maybe they break apart like Buggy from One Piece. So part 2 of that is on Netflix. I've only just started that. I know it's been out for a little bit, but I haven't finished it. It's an interesting cartoon. And this is the live action version, which is actually pretty entertaining. Not really for little kids, though. Let's see. I think that's enough. Just kind of bringing this back out to there. Yeah, we'll do just a little bit more and then be done. I think some part of this, quite possibly, would have been like maybe more leaves or something like that. But again, I will watch something, and I may do a follow-up video once I've learned a few things. Okay, no, I think that's going to be it. Well, folks, thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful day. Hopefully we'll see you again sometime in the near future. All right. Ciao for now.